You. Athletic director here at the college. We have Gary Droze, our head coach for cross country and track and field, on the call. You'll hear from him in a few minutes. And then we also have Jennifer Helms, who's part of our admissions staff here at the college. I'm going to turn it over to her first here in just a minute. So the purpose of the call, or the purpose of this Zoom virtual visit, we wanted to create opportunities for students who had an interest in cross country and or track to be able to get to learn a little more about Tallahassee Community College as a whole, but specifically about our running programs in the event that you still had an interest going forward. I mean, I would say being on this call today doesn't in any way guarantee you a spot in any way, shape, or form. And of course, a couple of you are still a year from graduating high school, but it's just, especially right now when we're still, some of us probably still navigating the whole, COVID in different ways. This is an easy way for us to connect without Ramon having to hit the road for 6, 7, 8 hours and come for a 60-minute visit. We can get on in a virtual environment, tell you about our school and our program, give you a chance to answer questions. So, I would say if you have any questions as we go throughout any of our presentations, if you'll drop it in the chat. I'll also drop some links in the chat to you as we go along that will be useful for you going forward. But other than that, I would just, number one, say thank you for having an interest in Tallahassee Community College, whether it be, here in the near future, or if it's still a year down the road. And secondly, thanks for taking time out of your Wednesday afternoon to let us talk about the college. So, Jenny, I'll turn it over to you first and let you tell these gentlemen, how or what would be their next steps about applying and getting into TCC.
All righty, let me pull up my. Well, I had it. Now it's not here. Just a second. There it is. Can you guys see that?
Not right now.
No.
I saw your desktop previously.
All right, here we go. You can see that now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so my name is Jenny Helms and I work in admissions and records. So I am here to help you guys if you do apply to TCC. If you have any questions about what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to apply, I can answer those questions for you. So I want to start off by telling you TCC does not have a minimum GPA requirement, and we do not require the ACT or SAT. So that's usually good news for people when they hear that. We don't have an application fee. It's free for you to apply. If you choose to apply to TCC, you will go onto the website that's listed right there. And in the top right-hand corner, you click Apply Now. It's very simple. The application takes you about 10 minutes to do. You do need to know your social security number when you apply, but that's really the only thing that you would need to know that you might not know. Once you do your application, you're going to get an email from TCC that gives you your TCC credentials. It will tell you what your TCC email address is, what your student number is, your username, your password. That's really important information. And it's going to give you a link to something called Workday, which is where we do everything here at TCC as far as admissions, financial aid, registering for classes. All of that is done in this thing called Workday. You will have something called onboarding that you have to do in your Workday account, and that's like your to-do list. That it's about 12 steps of things that you have to do, and that's usually where I come into play because students typically have a lot of questions about that. So When a couple of the things you're going to have to do is, number one, wherever you go to college, you're going to have your high school transcript sent to them. So, you know, if you're graduating this year, or if you just graduated, you will need to have your final high school transcript sent to wherever you're going to, and most schools do that electronically. You'll do something called a super strong assessment if you come here, and that's just like a career assessment that helps our advisors advise you. So just like in high school, you have a guidance counselor. When you go to college, you're going to have an advisor, and that's your person that helps you figure out what classes to take so that you're taking the correct classes. You will schedule an appointment to meet with them. That's one of your steps in onboarding. If you live in Florida, you're going to submit Florida residency so that you can get in-state tuition. So it's a whole list of things that you'll do. This just talks a little bit about the residency. Your residency, if you do live in Florida and you go to a Florida school, it's going to be based on your mom and dad's residency. So this just tells you what you would need to submit. That is also listed in your Workday account. It's going to tell you that, but I just like to point it out because students tend to get confused here and they submit their information, and that's not what we need. We need mom and dad's information. This is my information. If you want to write this down or take a picture of it, you know, hang on to it, because if you have questions, it's nice to have somebody that works in the admissions department that you can reach out to and can help you through that process. So write down either my email address or my phone number, and I am always available for you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, back to you, Rob.
And
I'm probably not going to stay on this whole call, so if I duck out, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or call me, okay?
Jenny, I was just going to make sure they saw that as Helms J. The J kind of swerved into the underline.
Yes, yes.
You're writing her address down. And I'll put that in the chat as well. It was Helms, HELMSJ @tcc.fl.edu.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Jenny? All right. Well, Jenny, I appreciate it, and I'll reach out to you in case we try to pull another one or two of these together over the course.
Okay. Sounds good. I put my phone number in there too, so if you guys want to write it down, there it is.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Coach Droze, anything you'd like to say from an introductory standpoint before I jump into our little recruiting presentation here?
Let me unmute. Okay. Yeah, just we're still a fairly young program, but we are getting ready to really expand. This year is probably the first year that we've had a really good recruiting class come on, and our purpose is we're really multi-purpose for those who want to continue and develop beyond what they reached at the high school level. We provide that opportunity, but above and beyond that, we have a goal to try to qualify for junior college nationals, and we've had a few females do it, and this next year we anticipate having our first group of young men actually qualify. And at our level, qualifying is not based on what place you get at something like a conference or a regional meet. It's strictly based on time and distance standards. So if you're curious about what it takes to make it to junior college nationals, it's pretty easy to Google that. You just look up NJCAA national qualifying standards, and they will vary a little bit from year to year, but they're fairly consistent right now. So that'll give you a good look at what we're aiming for. Having said that, I would be interested in knowing like what event or events each of you gentlemen consider your main events, whether it's track, field, or cross country. So let's see, just going across the board, there's only a few of you guys, so this shouldn't take too long. Thomas, what would you consider your main event or events?
I do both, but I do prefer track. I really love the 800, but
Okay.
I also do the mile and 2 mile.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up the 800. That will probably be our premier event this upcoming year. We have, we're trying to get 4 guys together to break 8 minutes for the 4x800. We've got a 156 guy, a 157, and a 2 flat and a 201.
Me and my team went to state for the 4x8, and our fastest time was a 8:16.
Okay, that's solid. Okay, that's competitive then. So basically, to be competitive for our squad in the 800 meters, you want to be under 205 is what we're looking for, and if we can get all 4 guys under 2 minutes, then we're gonna make it to nationals.
My PR is a 2 flat. I can definitely.
2 flat is that's going to help us a lot because we're looking for if our slowest leg runs 2 flat, then we get on the plane to nationals. So there's absolutely an opportunity for you there. And if you do cross country and track, you understand that cross country builds your endurance. It doesn't make you faster on the first lap of the 800, but it sure as heck keeps you from slowing down. So Tristan, what about you? What event or events are you into?
I say the 400 is my main one, but I also love the 200 as well.
Okay, let me address the 400, and you're going to hear this kind of common theme from me. We're really into the relays. I like the idea of trying to get relay squads to nationals. At the junior college level, what we're looking for is we need to have 4 guys who can average under 50 seconds. We're about halfway there right now. We got a couple guys that are right around 50. One guy never quite broke it, but he was right at 50 flat. And if we can get him some help, then we're looking at making it. Did you say you are from Valparaiso area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You Air Force brat?
Yes, sir.
I was stationed at Eglin probably, way before you were born, maybe before your parents were born. But yeah, I was the coach for the running club out there in Fort Walton Beach for a number of years.
Yes, sir. That's great to hear.
Yeah, great little town. So, Miguel, what about you?
My main event is pole vaulting.
Okay.
But I like to do other events.
Okay.
But I don't know specifically yet.
I think I heard from your coach. I think your coach contacted me. Is your pole vault PR right around meters? Is it right around 4.4 meters or so? I know we have to convert it to feet, but
yeah, I'm trying to convert it to feet.
Yeah.
I think so, like 14.6.
Okay. Yeah, 14.6. Well, just again, I keep bringing up like what it takes to qualify for nationals. If you can hit about 14.8 to 14.9, that will get you to junior college nationals. And I've already contacted in our city. It's kind of like a lot of places where you may have just 1 or 2 places where they focus on pole vault, and you may have 1 or 2 coaches actually coach a bunch of different people. That's sort of how it is here. We have a pole vault club in the area, and pretty much it's that's open to a lot of different people. So if you came on board here and did that, you would actually work with somebody who is pretty much the pole vault area coach. But we'll see how that goes. We'll wait and see how things turn out.
Okay.
Was that his high school coach that I forwarded the voicemail to you?
Yes, I spoke with him. We had a nice long chat. Yeah, and
Okay.
That's a situation where McClay School is basically the hub for pole vaulting for everybody. We actually have a community pole vault club, and it's a lot of the vaulters at a number of different levels end up there. It's a lot like swimming and diving. A lot of places there will be like one coach who coaches all the divers, from various areas, just because it's a specialty event. But anyway, that would be where it would fit in with him, because obviously we don't have a vault facility at TCC.
Right.
Okay. All right. And who's my 4th person there?
Ramon Love.
Well, okay. All right. What event or events do you specialize in?
My best event is a 200, and I like running 100 too.
100, 200. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of times have you hit?
200, I got 23.9. That's my 21.9, 21.39. I ran that in the state. I won the 3A state, and
Okay.
for the 100, I got a 10.93.
Okay.
That's
All
my
right.
PR.
Okay. Those are respectable times. I'll tell you right from the outset, you probably won't want to hear this, but I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Our best opportunity right now for people who run those times is to gradually bump you up, so we won't shock you and kill you or anything. But if you have that much speed for the 200, if you can improve in the 200, if you can get down to mid to low 21s, then you have an opportunity for nationals. But also that indicates that if you're willing to work hard, you certainly possess the leg speed to be able to eventually run a 400 meters in well under 50 seconds.
Mhm.
That will get you on the plane trip to nationals. So if you come out here, I just want to tell you that from the outset. If you want to get out of the 400, the best way to get out of the 400 is to run a lot faster in the 100 and the 200. But having said that, if you're willing to work hard, have you ever run on a 4x4?
Yeah, I did the 4x4.
Pretty exciting, huh?
Yeah.
If you've been in some good meets, we at the high school level, I've had a bunch of state champions in the 4x4, and there's not a better feeling than to finish up a state meet winning the 4x4. So anyway, I want to recreate that feeling with our guys going to nationals. Again, both the 4x4 and the 4x8, that's you guys, that's going to be our focus for those who are doing the running events. Okay. All right. So Rob, do you want to jump in for anything else right now?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Hang on. All right, and you should see we'll run TCC there, and this is going to jump into just some information on our program. Let me open up there we go, in case anybody jumps in. All right, so just to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of our program, you know, and why Gary and I, you know, feel like that Tallahassee Community College is the best choice, you know, for student athletes to consider for their cross country and or track and field careers. Our program as a whole, we were reestablished in 1990. But when we had athletics, the first 5 years of college was open, we were not affiliated with the NJCAA. So really our program goes back to 90, and you can see there kind of how the sports were added. And we had a long gap between adding sports. You know, we went 1994, and then it was 21 years after that. And in 2016, we kind of kicked this whole thing off by adding women's cross country. There's a picture of them at the start line in their first ever event. The following year, we added men's cross country, and then we have since added men's and women's track and field. There's a action shot of that's our guy right there in the middle with the big eagle across his chest, but that's a photo from the FAMU relays in 2019. We've had some really nice success stories with both teams. In particular with track and field, you know, we're not a full-fledged track program right now. We built this thing slowly, and again, like Gary said, we've had one young lady qualify for nationals twice. We had a second female runner qualify in 2019, but we've had 5 runners make all-state with cross country, and we even had the individual state champion for the women in 2017, Megan Giddens, who I believe she was from Taylor County High School, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But there's some photos of our all-state runners. So the main thing I want to hit on here, you know, why we push TCC, why we really believe that TCC is a good option for young men and women who want to get involved really in any sport, but in particular cross country and track and field. Academics, that's got to be number one at the top of the list, and we want that to be your number one priority coming in to TCC. Last year in 2020, TCC was named one of the nation's top 10 community colleges by the Aspen Institute. That was a really prestigious honor. We found out last or 2 weeks ago, we did not get the top billing and the $1 million prize that went to the winner. That was actually a school, I believe, in Texas, but to make that top 10 cut is a tremendous honor. So that's something that we've really been proud of over the last year. But our faculty are tremendous. You obviously get the smaller class sizes. I'm sure you've heard that if you've been considering a community college for your next step out of high school. But you obviously get the smaller class sizes, more individual attention here. We have a learning commons facility. That's what you see mentioned there on line 4. That is our academic support facility. For TCC, what we have on campus is going to rival many NCAA programs, particularly those at the D2, D3 level, or even NAI schools. You can go in the front door and you can get academic support really in any subject. They can help and assist in writing papers. If it's science, if it's math, economics, you can go in there and you can get help. And then kind of on the back end of your time here, I believe they're also available to help, when you're putting together or beginning to build a professional resume, those kind of services as well. So for us, to me, that's one of our biggest selling points, is that we have a tremendous academic support facility here that can be a resource for you. The result of all of that, we've had 15 going into this year. We're in the process now of all academic award selections now that the spring semester is over. So, this list would be updated. But as we went into 2020 and 2021, we had 15 NJCAA all academic selections, 16 NJCAA cross country coaches association scholar All-America honorees, and 9 of our teams across the cross country, half marathon, and track and field platforms had received NJCAA Academic Teams of the Year since 2016. And then the picture to your left is one of our cross country runners, Ashley Maxwell, who was actually chosen to be the student speaker at our last in-person commencement ceremony in 2019. So that was a real neat honor for her and really for the athletic department, not just cross country, but that was a big deal for athletics. Coaching, that's another big selling point for me. If you don't know Gary, and I would imagine, Tristan, if you've been out of the country, and Ramon, you're from Louisiana. So for the two of y'all, I realize you're probably not familiar, with Gary and his background, but he coached at McClay School here in Tallahassee for 25 years, I believe it was, and won a combined 20 state championships when you're talking cross country and track, boys and girls. So all of that combined, 20 state championships, and he was inducted into the State High School Hall of Fame in 2018. He's been my only coach since we started the program, and his mission all along has been to build a similar legacy here at the college. We started off with cross country, and like I said, we brought track and field on, and that was always his vision from the start. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think initially we saw it more as a way to bring the distance runners over from the fall to the spring and just be able to continue to give them a chance to participate in an intercollegiate setting. But, word of mouth, people know we have track, and all of a sudden interest really began to increase for the spring season as well. And so we have taken on some sprinters. We've had, a couple of athletes have more of an interest in the throws or the jumps. So I think we're open to expanding. We just want to make sure that we're doing it at the right pace so that you still get a good experience here at the college. Number 3, facilities. Now, as it relates to cross country, Thomas, I'm going to assume you're familiar with Appalachia Regional Park. you're not going to find a better facility anywhere in the country, in my opinion, to train, as a distance runner. The high school championships in Florida have been held there for probably close to a decade at this point. The NCAA championships are out there this fall. And then we have our NJCAA championships on the course in 22. So, one of the things that I've been wanting to push aggressively is that for cross-country runners, if you're a high school graduate in 21 or 22, which Thomas, you'd fall into this category, you stand to have the opportunity to run a national championship event on your home course next fall. And I think that's a unique opportunity for any participant, whether it's cross-country, golf, swimming and diving, basketball, whatever, that you can run a national championship race on your home course. So for cross-country runners, this is an outstanding community to get involved in. Plenty of terrain, plenty of miles of trails in Leon County with various terrain for you to get out and condition on. As it relates to track and field, we do not have an on-campus facility, but again, because of the relationships that we have throughout the community, we'll do some training at McClay, which is where Gary has, although he's retired from coaching there, he's continued to teach. But we'll use McClay's track. Sometimes we'll go down to the track at FSU when it's open for community runs in the evenings. And I would assume, Gary, you can jump in here, but conditioning for track and field probably doesn't always have to be confined to the track. You can probably get out and do some running on some of the trails even to get ready for the spring season. Is that the case?
Yeah, certainly. And in fact, we have a park, a really nice park that's only a couple miles from TCC. It's called St. Louis Mission Park. And even with the setting there, I can actually take even my sprinters and those who are in the more power events, because that park has hills with varying inclines on it. And there's paved segments that are flat. So I actually went out and marked it. So part of the pavement there is marked almost like a track. And so we have an opportunity, even though it's not on a track itself, we can get some of the same intense training that you would want to get, whether it's for the distance events or for the short events, or even the field event types. Someone like Miguel is going to be training more like a 100, 200 meter runner as a pole vaulter. That park definitely has some opportunities for people, whatever events they are, to work at.
And then outside of running and conditioning on the trails or tracks, we have a Lifetime Sports complex here on campus. Essentially, that is what you might think of as your student activity center. We have a couple of gyms. That's where we play basketball. We also have a second gym, which is kind of your open gym, your intramurals. Get it if you want to just go in and throw up some shots. But we also, we have a weight room that is dedicated to the athletes. So it's not an open weight room. It is strictly designed for use by our student athletes. But we also have a fitness center in the facility that is open to all students, faculty, and staff with student ID. The equipment's a little different in each. So our athletes, a lot of times they'll take advantage of both, but we had about a core group of 5 or 6 guys who I thought really did a good job taking advantage of those facilities this year. Obviously, your events train outdoors and off campus most of the time. So I realize it's probably a little easier for your teams to maybe, or maybe it's a little harder for you to get connected without being very purposeful behind it. You're not coming into the gym to do a practice on the floor for 2 hours, okay? But the one thing I've always wanted to stress, to the runners is that the facilities that are here for baseball, softball, and basketball, they're here for cross country and track as well. My training room, we have still, I think, a relatively new an upgraded training room that we opened in 2017. That's in this facility as well. So when you're needing treatment, when you're wanting to get in and if you want to do some extra weights or get on the treadmill, do anything like that, we have facilities available for you. Okay. Third reason under why TCC, the opportunity. Now, since I put this together in the fall, we have had one other 2-year school declare, I think maybe only for female track and field, but I can tell you we're the only 2-year school in Florida who offers track and field for males. Okay. There is one other school in the state that is part of the NJCAA, ASA Miami. They have had track and field. They also have football, but they are not part of the 2-year college system because they are a for-profit institution. So they're able to operate a little differently. They did not run track and field this past spring, and I'm not sure if they're bringing it back. So we really could be the only 2-year school, regardless of if it's associated with the FCSAA or the NJCAA when it's all said and done. And we're the only 2-year school in the Southeast who runs, both, with the exception of Lake Sumter State College, who did declare for female track. So if the 2-year system is what you're looking at and you have an interest in either or both of these sports, your options are limited when you're looking in the Southeast part of the country. So we at TCC, I believe we kind of fill a gap that's out there for those students, because not everybody is going to land at a Division I. And right now, we're kind of in a cycle where the opportunities are probably even fewer because of the last couple of years and the impact from COVID and how participation has not been charged. It wasn't charged in 2019 or 2020 for spring participants. I believe the NCAA is charging it this year, but it's just kind of started to create a backlog of participants. And NJCAA did not charge anybody a year of participation this year in any sport. So, my runners here, we're trying to keep them on track to graduate because I do believe that's in their best interest. But right now is a time where the opportunities at the NCAA level may be fewer than in years past. So I think it does maybe create a little more of a need to look at the 2-year system as your opportunity. And again, TCC is one of the few out there to offer both sports. And then, something that I found neat from the outset back in 2016 is, cross country and track, those are sports that provide an opportunity to participate directly with 4-year colleges and universities. We'll go over to Florida A&M and compete in the FAMU relays in the spring and the fall. We go over to Appalachia Regional Park and we compete in the FSU Invitational. And so we're on the starting line with athletes from 4-year colleges and universities. And the benefit, to you as a participant at TCC is that now you are right there in a prime opportunity to be seen by schools that you might potentially want to have an interest in, and vice versa. So that's one thing that I've really found to be a neat opportunity for our runners, or for all of our participants in cross country and track ever since we started, is that you do get the unique opportunity to be out there at the same time with your peers from the university level. And so obviously you have an interest in either or both of these teams. That's why you're on the call today. Ramon, I know you and Tristan, I pulled y'all into this because I saw you completed the questionnaire. What I will do once we finish this call, we have a questionnaire online, and hopefully that's what you're seeing now on the screen. from our website. Gary, can you confirm it? Are you seeing that page? TCC?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go to tcceagles.com and then under student athletes, recruiting information, questionnaires, and then we kind of have a link from there to each of our sports. I'm not going to ask you to remember how to get there. I'll send this link back out to everybody, but we have this questionnaire that is always active, and you can complete this as well. You know, if all you did was sign up for the Zoom call today, then I would say, hey, if you get off of this call and you still have an interest in TCC and an interest in us considering you, then I would say this would be a good next step. And this is just going to prompt you to provide some personal information, some background information on your academics as well as your athletics, your high school coach. And then the last thing down here, we just kind of leave an open field for you to drop in some PRs for either sport. And that gives Gary kind of more of a baseline of where you are and how you would fit into a potential roster spot. And we developed this document that lives online as well, that provides a little bit of a kind of a baseline for what we're looking for. Now you see the terms scholarship and walk-on. We're using those more along the lines of, okay, if your times are if you're hitting the scholarship time, then you're probably in more of a prime position to be in serious consideration for a roster spot. If your times are more in that walk-on column, then you might might be a little harder for you to make the cut, because right now we're not offering we don't have a large scholarship budget, just to be blunt. Okay, we have limited hours of tuition, and then we do, the one thing I would say with a fair amount of confidence is that the athletes who do make the cut and make the roster, we're probably going to be able to provide some book scholarship assistance and help you with that cost. But beyond that, it's very limited. So it's a very competitive process. And even more so on the guys' side. If you've ever heard of Title IX and gender equity, that's one thing that we have to pay careful attention to each year. And so we have no shortage of interest from males. We are really struggling to get the same interest from your female cohorts, okay, your female companions. So so when it comes time, for determining what the roster looks like, when we get a female who says she wants to be a part of it, she's probably going to make the cut, because we just need female participants. And the more females that we get, the more male participants we're able to keep. So again, because all four of you on the call today are males, I can say, look, it's a very competitive process. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But kind of backing up, next step, completing this questionnaire. A couple of you already have, but this is really the next piece that Coach Droze is able to look over. And the same way that any of our other sports would fill their rosters, it's they recruit, and they're not able to take everybody that has an interest. They're kind of limited on roster sizes, and they have to take the ones that are going to make the cut based on their credentials. So obviously Thomas and Tristan, y'all are 2022 grads, so you're still a year out, and I think it's really good for y'all to be on this call today, because you do have still a full year to prepare and kind of know what you're getting into and know what the requirements would be. Miguel and Ramon, this is a decision that's probably more, Miguel, you did say you're 21, right? Yeah, I see that there now.
21 grade.
So,
Oh,
if you know, if you still have that interest, then I would encourage you, sooner than later, complete this questionnaire and, let Coach Droze do some more research. Of course, he knows all the ins and outs with mile split and direct athletics and all those sites, to where, he's able to kind of research and know rather quickly, what your results have been over the course of your careers. So that's really, I think, kind of where my piece is going to end for the moment. There you see our email addresses. And what I will do, I'm going to send links to all of these documents through an email so that you have easy access to it. But I've done a lot of talking. Any of you guys have questions for myself or Coach Droze?
No, sir.
Gary, anything you want to add to any of that?
No, just for those of you who are this year's grads who who think you're serious about attending TCC, stay in touch with me over the summer, because obviously, even though we're not in season over the summer, that's also a time to be doing conditioning and fitness. So I'd like to know where you guys are along those lines. For the others, Tristan and Thomas, I'll be following your careers. You guys know that's one thing about our sport with track and field and cross country. You can't hide. Everything you do is basically going to be posted somewhere. So that's I consider that a positive. I consider that motivating. So you have the opportunity to go ahead and improve on your marks. But along those lines, feel free to get in touch with me, any of you guys who want to discuss training or talk more specifically about your events. And Miguel, I'll throw this out to you. When I was coaching here at McClay School, my high school, we had 4 state champions in the pole vault. Our school record is 15-9, and out of respect for that, one year we had the female state champion and the male state champion, and I rewarded them the next year. Instead of saying McClay track and field, our T-shirt said McClay field and track. And so I'll do the same thing with TCC. If my top performer at TCC on the track team is a field event person, then it'll be the TCC field team, and we'll also have some track. So little incentive for you.
Hey, and one other thing I'll add, kind of backing up with regards to athletic aid and scholarships, because that's always a question I get, and I understand that. The one thing that we have continued to do from the outset is we will utilize our NJCAA letters of intent, okay? And so what the benefit to that is that even if we have a runner who is receiving no athletic aid whatsoever, we'll sign them to an NJCAA letter of intent. And when we do that, now that removes any potential restrictions that might otherwise be in place when it comes to you being able to utilize any other types of athletic aid, or not athletic aid, but any other types of financial aid that you may bring with you to TCC, particularly if it's not federal type aid. Pell Grants and loans and stuff, that's kind of exempt, but sometimes, we'll have, we always have some walk-ons in baseball who we've exhausted all of our LOIs, and they're truly a walk-on in every sense of the word, and we have to really monitor, their aid to make sure they're not, unfortunately, unless they're from within this district where the TCC is located, they can't necessarily bring the Rotary Club scholarship or the presidential scholarship or the scholarship for being #1 in your graduating class. We have to really monitor those things. But once we put you on an NJCAA letter of intent, even if there's no athletic aid attached to that, all those scholarships are still there for you to use. So there is still, you know, a way for you to utilize that aid that you bring. And then if we're able to add something onto that, then we certainly will look for that opportunity. But I always want to make sure that, you know, that athletes who are interested in any of our sports understand, you know, what is attached to the opportunity and what isn't necessarily attached. So my advice, you know, to the runners, whether it's track or cross country, is I would say, look, plan to absorb the cost of attendance to TCC, okay? And then if we're able to offer something, then that's just kind of icing on the cake. You know, but as long as you understand up front, you know, that part of the responsibility, then there shouldn't be any surprises, you know, when it comes time for you to make a decision, or if you want to enroll and you get here and any of that comes up, you would know coming in that you're coming here, you know, out of pocket. And then if we're able to do anything along the way, then that's great. So one more chance here. Any Miguel, Thomas, Tristan, Ramon, any questions from any of you? All right. Gary, I'm just racking my brains here to see if there's anything that we didn't cover. Oh, real quick. This will get you guys to chime in again before we leave. What are your anticipated majors, just out of curiosity? Ramon?
Agriculture.
Agriculture?
Mhm.
Okay. Tristan?
Nursing.
Okay. And so I'll stop there. You know, you may be familiar with how the two-year system has changed over the years in Florida, and you know, most of the schools, well, I'll say we're one of the last two or three that still have community college in their name. A lot of them they're either just Chipola College or Northwest Florida State College, because they started offering bachelor degrees. TCC finally started offering a bachelor's degree a couple of years ago. We only offer one, and it is nursing right now. And so to your point, I talked about how we have a nice academic support facility. About 10 years ago, we opened up, probably close to a $30 million healthcare facility over in middle of town next to the two hospitals that operate out of Tallahassee. And that's where all of our healthcare courses are taught, other than dental hygiene. They stayed here on campus, but everything else moved to our $30 million healthcare facility. So that's something you know, for you to keep in mind over the next year. Thomas, what about you?
Business.
Business, okay. That's a very popular one with our athletes. Miguel?
Paramedics.
Paramedics, okay. And of course, you know, I ask you that question, and you probably know this, you know, you're not going to come to TCC and major in paramedics or agriculture or business. You know, at the two-year level, when you come to TCC, kind of your goal is to leave here with the associate in arts degree, and then you're going to move on to that four-year institution to continue on towards your major. What TCC will prepare you for, you know, when you get to those elective courses, now that's where you want to be a little more choosy on your electives based on your major. Okay, so you know, Ramon's wanting to be an agriculture major. Then when it comes to those 24 elective hours that are part of your AA, then you might want to look around and see what courses TCC offers that might serve as a prerequisite, you know, for the transfer. So, you know, again, the bread and butter of TCC and probably all two-year institutions is that AA degree, but we certainly can help you transfer, I think, into any degree program that you would like, and particularly here in the state of Florida. So, all right, thanks for that input. Gary, I stalled a couple more minutes there. Anything more from your perspective?
No, not really, except those who are not graduating until next year. I wish you well for the rest of your season, and the guys who have just graduated or about to. I'm sure within 10 seconds after we finish this, you're going to have some questions. Feel free to contact me. I'm happy to discuss any issues you have, any questions. And if you're like me, you get antsy just sitting here during a virtual meeting. So I'm not going to keep you guys any longer.
No.
It's hard to not move around if you're an athlete.
And so we're coming right up on 5 o'clock, and that's kind of my goal is to cap this at an hour. So what I'll do when we wrap this up and everything, I will follow up via email with a link. I'll actually provide a link back to this recording so that you can go back and watch it at any time, and especially with Jenny's portion, to be able to go back and see what she shared about applying for admission to the college and those steps. But I'll share a link back to this video, as well as any of the documents and such that we went through online. Okay, so again, I appreciate y'all taking the time to get on here this afternoon and for your interest in TCC. And if you have any questions going forward, when I send the email, I'll also provide Gary's contact information too. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all have a good evening.